We hear a lot of talk about open government, citizen engagement. It certainly seems that there is potential to break down some of the barriers between citizens and the government through the use of IT, whether it's just through through service delivery, or just bringing the two sides more closer together from a policy engagement perspective. What's your vision there? How can government use IT?
Well, we have a fairly well-developed open government plan and platform now. It involves open data, open information, and open dialogue with citizens. Open data, my vision is to push more data out to citizenry from the government so that they can utilize this data for information purposes, and for our entrepreneurial sector, even developing new apps. For instance, I always use the example of the public transport icon on Google Maps as a good example of using publicly available information from municipalities in that case to create a wonderful tool for routing your trip in a particular North American city, any North American city. So I think there's a whole business culture that could be created when we get more open data out there. I'll be relying on StatsCan as an example for some of this information. Open information is about making sure that access to information requests are more freely available to a broader audience. And the open dialogue, I'm quite interested in how we use the social media, the IT world, to help us not only have a dialogue with the public, but also help in decision making. And it could be either decision making that governments have to decide, or through using crowdsourcing technology now, and the whole essence of crowdsourcing, to actually push decisions away from government so that the public can make these decisions for themselves. So these are some of the concepts that I would like to make some improvement on and some progress on in the near future.
And just more one-on-one, you're a heavy user of technology yourself. You have an iPad, you tweet fairly often. How have you worked technology into your role, both as a member of Parliament and a minister?
Well, I've had the good fortune of being industry minister for 2.5 years before going to Treasury Board, and then being at Treasury Board having a role with open government. So it's been good for me to be in this milieu, to understand some of the issues, some of the frustrations, some of the challenges, but also some of the opportunities, and it has animated some of the public policy that I've been championing as a minister, as a politician, but also as an individual. It's part of my life. I use the line that I use on my kids. You know, there's two states of being now. There's asleep and online, and that's the way it is for a lot of people now. And I use the online world for news source, news aggregation, for being able to communicate my message, showing dimensionality about who I am, what are my likes and dislikes, broader than just politics as a human being, my passions, whether it's in sports or music or what have you, and also to carry on that dialogue. As we're having this conversation now, tweets are coming in to my tweet box because I started this dialogue on the use of social media for public servants, and I'm getting a lot of feedback just in the last few minutes on that before we started the interview. So these are the kinds of things that it can be utilized for, and really we're at the beginnings of how this can positively affect society. So I think government and the public service can't be a part of that. They have to be part of it, and we'll learn as we go. We might make some mistakes as we go as well. That's all part of new technology and how society reacts to that. I'm sure the person who invented the wheel probably made a few mistakes along the way, but that's how we do things as human beings, and I'm quite optimistic that society will benefit in the long run.
You mentioned the use of social media in the public service. I'm interested. Would you like to see more of that? Because my understanding said it's a bit restricted today.
Yep.
Within government departments. You can't load up Facebook, Twitter, possibly. I'm not sure.
We've got to update the guidelines. The guidelines on the use of social media predate most of social media. So the guidelines that are in place right now are 2008 guidelines. So I'm in the midst of, and my officials are in the midst of updating those guidelines. So yeah, there have to be some rules, but at the end of the day, as I said to the Senate committee recently, looking into some of these issues, it's just bizarre to me that you could have a situation where, let's give an example of a bright, young, new employee of the public service. Let's say they're in their mid-20s or early 20s, used to being online 24/7 at the coffee shop, at Timmy's or wherever, using their iPad or Playbook or other tablet, or being on Twitter, being on Facebook, and then they cross into the public service and none of that, or the wall comes up, or very little of that is available. That's just, to them it would be bizarre. So I think we've got to break down that wall. There do have to be rules. Professional sports teams have rules about social media. Companies have rules about social media. So there have to be rules, but I think we can be less restrictive than we are now.
I understand you have a pilot project underway within a cabinet committee to reduce the amount of paper that's generated. Could you talk about that?
Well, I think Treasury Board can lead the way on this and get us closer to paperless. It almost seems strange that we're talking about this in 2011. That this couldn't have been done 20 years ago, but here we are. To me, I can lead the way by the number of reports that are available via memory key rather than. I'll give you an example. Many reports that I do involve thousands of pages of reporting on accountability for government, whether it's supplementary estimates or reports of departmental priorities, and they go to 308 MPs.
They all actually read every page, right?
Well, I'll let them answer that question, but it lands with a thud on their desk, thousands of pages in some cases. And so I would like to go to memory stick on all of this with hyperlinks, make it much more accessible, manipulable in the sense of hyperlinking to other information that the parliamentarian might find of interest. Again, this is not something new. This is actually old technology, but getting it into government and getting it to be matter of fact, that's what I'm aspiring to.
Great. Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you.